Are live. Eric Butler, we are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, uopod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I gotta vote for Trump, dude.
It's great here, a lot of fat chicks and a lot of screaming.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate.
Whoa. So many things to talk about, Eric.
Bro, you got to give me some more time. I wasn't even ready. Still like.
What do you mean? It's 5 p.m. Eastern time.
But I gotta alert the audience and get whatever. Do it live. We're doing it live.
That is the nature of the show. What did you do over the weekend?
Well, the weekend is not over. Of course, working just a little bit, but also I made the terrible, brutal mistake of agreeing to help somebody move, and I am paying for that already. I didn't, usually it would maybe in 2 days sometimes, but I'm already very sore, so it's going to be a rough 2 or 3 days before. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm completely out of shape, so I wasn't really ready for all that. I wasn't really ready for all that heavy lifting, but here we are.
I was lucky enough to go see. I went and saw Tony Hinchcliffe live in concert in Toronto with one of my favorite comedians of all time as well. Already, William Montgomery, the Big Red Machine. They were both great.
That's the Kill Tony guy, right?
You're right, exactly. Ginger guy, beard, bald. They were both amazing. Can't lie. But I've decided I was a little off to the right-hand side in the second row. I've decided that I can't go to comedy things or anything unless I'm in the front. I can't handle doing this for 2 hours. My body just can't handle it anymore at this age. So I need to be in the center. I'm thinking about Tim Dillon in December. I think he's coming to Toronto. So if I can get... And I have a taste for near the front now as well. So I can't back off of that.
Can't go back.
No, so I need to be somewhere in the middle.
Seinfeld joke about it.
That's true. I can't go
back.
back.
Seinfeld joke about it. Yeah, go back. Have you ever flown first class? No. Well, I have, and I can't go back now.
You don't know what you're missing. I've personally never flown first class either, but I don't think I've ever flown economy either, where it's like super cramped. I used to fly a lot more when I was in the military.
The guy that MFer right there is not real. You never sat back there in the back of the plane with the reptilians.
I mean, I've sat. Yeah, but it wasn't like I don't think they had economy class 10 years ago or 15 years ago where it's like, even if they did, it was never like a terrible situation. I have flown on those, prop engine planes for short distances out to the east coast of Canada, and they weren't cramped. It's just it was a small plane, and you feel like you might die the whole time. I laugh when that happens. Also, by the way. It feels like a roller coaster to me, where other people are just like thinking they're gonna die or praying or something. I'm the guy going woohoo when we're shaking all through the air.
Well, I'm just curious now that I'm thinking about this live in real time. They're trying to ruin this young lady's life. Maybe not ruin her life, but for whatever reason, the media needs us to know that she lives in a big house in Texas. And from the video, I may or may not be. I don't have all the details, but it looks like she was sitting in the very back of the plane, typically where the bros would be sitting, So doesn't matter.
Maybe it was a last minute thing.
Well, the DMs are still open. You're looking good. Shoot me a message, and we can work it out.
You're still shooting their shot, as they say. Fairly new phrase that, and I already don't like it. Because I saw some sort of meme or clip where some woman was said shooted your shot, and I was like, I can't accept this language. Can't accept it.
Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to. I'm also noticing in real time, live as we speak, that Instagram is doing some new things with the story reposts. I'm learning a lot in front of your eyes right now.
There's lots to learn. I don't know if Getter is working. We're live on Getter. We're live on Rumble. Rumble's been very good to us so far, and of course YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And if you're listening on any of the podcast channels, Google, iHeartRadio, Apple, and my favorite, Spotify. Kudos to you. Please give us a 5-star rating. Share it. And we will love you a long time. Now back to the meat of the order, because it's baseball season and the Jays are hot. Hopefully they can do something here, Eric, in the playoffs and make it to the playoffs first and foremost. But Barack Obama, his biographer,
Wait,
posted
hang on.
What,
Am I
Eric?
missing the? Are you gonna link this story to the Blue Jays, or is that
No,
completely different? Okay,
I just said it's
wasn't sure if
baseball
you were-
season. I
Okay.
already forget what I said, but it's baseball season. Barack Obama. It says, quote, "I make love to men daily, but in the imagination." Given that this is the former president and how people surrounding all the ex-presidents seem to disappear, so considering the chef that died lately, we're going to be very litigious here and make sure we're quoting everything properly. But this is from a biographer of Barack Obama. The New York Post posted this. I think it came out from, it wasn't Axios. It was somebody else who reported it first. Maybe they'll mention it. But biographer for Barack Obama has exposed a letter that Obama wrote to a girlfriend when he was 21 and in college, so before he was married. And it's wild, Eric. Let's get your reaction from this. Former President Barack Obama wrote of his androgynous mind. Okay, we can skip that stuff because they're just giving it away, their lead. 1982 is the year. He's 21. He's in college. He's writing a letter to his ex-girlfriend. The biographer's name is David Garrow. He gave a long and winded interview. Okay, this is the quote from Obama that everybody's talking about, and it's wild. "In regard to homosexuality, I must say that I believe this is an attempt to remove oneself from the present, a refusal perhaps to perpetuate the endless farce of earthly life. You see, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination," Obama, then 21, wrote to Alex McNear in November 1982. So I'll reread it again. There's more, though. "I must say that I believe, in regard to homosexuality, that this is an attempt to remove oneself from the present, a refusal perhaps to perpetuate the endless farce of earthly life. You see, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination." And there is his lovely wife, Michelle. And there's his ex-girlfriend, I guess, this Alex lady. "My mind," he goes on, quote, "my mind is androgynous to a great extent, and I hope to make it more so until I can think in terms of people, not women as opposed to men. But in returning to the body, I see that I have been made a man, and physically in life, I choose to accept that contingency." So, Eric, this means to me, in my completely legal opinion, as in I'm legally allowed to have this opinion and I'm not feeling suicidal, that he says, "I make love to men daily in my imagination," and he kind of wishes that there wasn't a difference between men and women, as explained by him saying, "I like to think of terms of people, not women as opposed to men, and my mind is androgynous, but in returning to the body and physically in life, I choose to accept that I'm a man by contingency." So he has gay fantasies. He kind of wishes that we didn't have to separate people into men and women because he's attracted to both, and that he's accepting that he's a man and that he can't really be both, so that it wouldn't be weird. Because if he could be both at the same time or nothing in between, non-binary, one might say, then it'd be more normal for him to be attracted to men as well as women. So I think, Eric, in my respected opinion in politics, I've been in politics 68 years, that I think Barack Obama is saying he wishes he was kind of non-binary, even though that probably didn't exist back then, because it would be more normalized that he's attracted to men and women. What are your thoughts on this? What are you taking from these quotes?
Well, my first question is, why right? What's going on? I mean, we had 8 years of Obama, we had Trump, we got Biden. Why is this happening right now? That should obviously be the number one question. Why is this an issue at this particular juncture? Are they going to try to play it to their advantage when they maybe prop up Michelle Obama? But secondly, I don't want to get too conspiratorial or tinfoil hat or whatever you want to call it, but I mean, this makes perfect sense, right? Not only are we seeing this, whatever, how 30 years later, 31, however long ago it was, we're seeing this, and they're obviously trying to make it regular. So maybe he was ahead of the curve on that. It's just completely demonic and satanic, and this is just something that they do, right? Like the weirdo Baphomet statue that has, it's a man, it's a woman, or whatever. I don't know. They're just weird, Satanist, creepy people, and it's par for the course, bro. Like, I don't know what to make of it. The most important question is, why is this happening right now? And I would pose that to you. What is it? It's election season, but is this the right-wing conspiracy nut jobs coming out to bash Democrats? What is the purpose of this right now?
I can't say that I'm sure, but obviously you're right. This is either to distract from something, or it is to make them look better in the eyes of the leftists who say, "Oh, that's great," but "Oh, you're not straight. That's wonderful."
So maybe,
but
I'm thinking about, like, maybe this is just, right? Every other time they pretend they're going to do something to Hunter Biden, and then they just indict Donald Trump. Like, maybe this is just a diversion.
I mean, yeah, the Hunter stuff is interesting too. I still don't think anything's going to happen with that. If people didn't hear,
No.
Hunter Biden is getting an investigation to him from the Department of Justice, which I think will just be, let's focus on how bad Hunter is and leave Joe alone. But let's read a bit more of this, see if it gives us anything else. The author does say something a little funny at the end. McNair, who dated Obama during his year at Occidental College in LA, later redacted the salacious paragraphs, which the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Garrow hunted down and included in his tome, Rising Star. The letter is currently owned by Emory University, which doesn't permit it to be photographed or removed. Instead, Garrow's friend Harvey Clare transcribed the paragraphs by hand and sent them to the author. I think that's
so it could just be fake.
Photo.
It could, in theory, it could all just be completely fake.
In theory, yes.
And
Claire
also,
provided the redacted portion of the letter to the Post.
But also, I mean, is it... Maybe we're reading just way too much into it, and he's a weirdo, and he always has been a weirdo, and all the jokes of Michelle actually being a man are true, and here we are. I mean, I don't know. I cannot stand these people. It's so disgusting. They're all so disgusting.
Here's the historian and biographer Garrow said there was nothing unusual about Obama's youthful musings. So he's basically saying, don't kill me. This is normal. He says, quote, I'm a historian, not a psychologist, but I think it's, quote, public record news that a vast majority of human beings have sexual fantasies, ! So he's saying it's normal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
A sexual fantasy is way different from just wishing there were no men and women or wanting to be like. Look, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but there's, maybe as a little boy you would fantasize about Britney Spears or something like that. That's completely different from saying I wish men and women didn't exist. And
yes.
Let's stop trying to put those into the same box because.
Yeah, we're talking about a 21-year-old man in college having fantasies about being with men and wanting to be, and he's saying his mind is basically androgynous, no different between male and female, and he wishes that reality reflected that men and women weren't different, essentially, and that for now I'm just gonna accept that I'm a man for now. Maybe in 50 years or 40 years we will stop recognizing the differences between men and women. Almost as if, Eric, I think one more thing. I think you could take this as a little bit of a window. I mean, he's 21 years old. Obviously, your opinion has changed vastly. He goes to law school. He has kids. He has a wife, and he does all this stuff. And your opinions change. But this is still an adult person having these thoughts about. I mean, like we were saying, is it normal? Like, it would be more normal for him to just have gay fantasies, right? Like, it'd be more normal for a gay guy to have who isn't out of the closet to have gay fantasies. But for somebody to have a fantasy about being and saying that their mind is androgynous and they wish the world reflected that in whatever terms he used, that's pretty weird. That's a pretty off kilter belief system or thought process that a tiny percentage of people have. Gen Z a lot more, so they say, but it's so tiny that maybe he's brought that through his life now, and that's why we're moving in this direction. A lot of people think the Obama still control a lot of stuff. He still goes out and he still supports candidates left, right, center. Stacey Abrams, not really Hillary, Joe Biden a little bit, but there are candidates that he has gone out and supported. So it's not like he's not in the politics game, and people do still have rumors that a lot of his people are still in places where they're pushing and pulling stuff. So maybe this is something he's carried through his whole adult life, and he has wanted to make it a point, for the rest of the world to conform to him, because that's what we see from these types of people right now. Let me go to any bathroom I want. Let me get married to anyone I want, anywhere. Pride parade, nudity, anywhere, anytime. Books for your children, drag queens for your children. This is sort of in line with what we're seeing now today, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. It's the exact same. Like, it's almost as, look, and you have to give him credit, right? First, I will give him credit for at least acknowledging that at that point in time, like, I will, as sad as it is, I will have to acknowledge that I'm just a man, okay? Which can't be said, it's not the same right now. Right now, people get these delusions, and not only are they having their delusions, but they're forcing you to capitulate to them as well. So kudos to him on that, for at least still. And also, you have to give them credit for just sticking with it for so long. If we want to go conspiratorial, and they've been working on this for so long, and he's probably just a cog in the machine that's been working even longer than him. And I use the example of recreational cannabis in California specifically. When you do the timeline, when you look at how that actually happened, is largely funded by George Soros. Way back in the late 80s, they started that. So they work and they work and they work and they work for decades and decades and decades. And they don't care what you think. They don't care that you don't want them to mutilate their child. They don't care about anything. And that's the difference between this weirdo establishment who will run roughshod all over anybody and they do not care, versus the more common sense, right-wing type of people who, for the most part, and it's getting a little bit better now, but for the most part, they will constantly apologize and backtrack. We saw it sort of with Neo for a little bit, and then he reversed the apology. But the point is, they get so scared that they will constantly backtrack. Whereas these people, if this is true, if this is in line with something that they've been working on for decades, then that's why they win, is because they do not quit. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Right. I wouldn't think that he would be part of working on it for decades. I think it's something that he might have, I'm not going to say that he does, might have believed, and he goes along with it. But he's pretty OG on these thoughts, Eric. So who knows what's happening?
No, but
who knows if this is a distraction?
But in the grand scheme, if you want to talk about like John Money or all these weirdo philosophers from, he could just be in the middle of it. Like that, him in 1982 could have been them already 2 decades in. I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? It's outside of this is actually, let me leave it here and we'll go on to the next one. But this is actually one of the least disgusting things that these people have done, right? Like these are the same people who are going to tell you that, climate change is going to destroy the world and sea levels are rising, and then buy the beachfront property, and that's the least disgusting thing these people have done, in my opinion. One of the least. Right? It's a long list. We can maybe do a deep dive on the Obama family, the Clinton, these recent establishmentarians, and this is it's a drop in the bucket.
Bring Anthony Weiner on the show. This could be a distraction from this personal chef that died on the Obama's compound, drowned in a pond while paddleboarding. I mean, this is all opinion, Your Honor, conjecture, hearsay. I don't know anything, really. I'm just a guy talking to a camera right now.
Yeah,
but
that's a great point. Like, think about Kevin Spacey, right? They accuse him. Was it Kevin Spacey? I mean, you make a great point. It's like, oh, I'm gay, and then it just sort of goes away. Like Kevin Spacey, you know what I mean? So you might be onto something there as well.
We all know, Eric, that paddleboarding is one of the most lethal things that anyone can do in the world, especially when they're in shape young chefs, young in quotation marks, maybe. Did a shark with a laser beam attached to his head come out and get him? Did someone give him the old heave ho? Did somebody shoot a blow dart at him who's been training for this for 30 years? Maybe a shoe to the head, Eric. What I'm saying is nobody knows quite what happened, but you can be assured that at this point in time, there is a distraction to be put afoot, when something like when they're going to give up that Barack Obama had gay thoughts and androgyny mixed into his mind in college, then that's a sacrifice to get rid of something else. When Hunter Biden plea deal goes away and we learn about his secret dinners with Joe in restaurants, when that stuff's being given up, it's got to be something else that's being taken away. Our next topic is they're still kneeling, Eric. They are still kneeling in England. They announced in the English Premier League, which is arguably the biggest soccer league in the world. There's Spanish, Italian, German, but the Premier League is, English speaking. So we tend to focus on that in the Western world. No, you're not a soccer fan, but they have decided they're going to keep taking the knee for specific games, anti-racism games. And I think they got booed as well. Some stadiums who are less forgiving, like in the Manchesters and in the London teams, where when you're going further north or west from those cities and people don't give a shit about what your social justice cause is, they're booing them. So they're saying they're taking the knee before select matches. 2 will coincide with no room for racism campaigns in October and April 2024. There have been people who have said they won't kneel, but they'll also take the knee ahead of their first and last games of the season, as well as before matches played on Boxing Day for some reason, which is really just a holiday in British countries like mine where things are cheaper because it's the day after Christmas. So there have been players who don't take the knee, specifically an African guy, and then a British black guy. They say they won't take it because it doesn't do anything, it doesn't mean anything to them, and because they don't like BLM. And here's something I thought was interesting, because this is from Sports Illustrated, and they've had transgender swimsuit models. The gesture has been used as an anti-racism symbol since the murder of George Floyd. And it's like you could tell through the writing. It is synonymous with the Black Lives Matter movement, it says. A statement published this week on behalf of 20 captains of the team say they were unified in our belief that discrimination has no place in football. I mean, it happens, Eric. We've seen it. We've covered it on this show where they had monkey chants for a guy and they made him cry. It's happened in Brazil. They throw a banana at a player. Like, this stuff happens. My question is, Eric, why do you need to co-opt an American thing? George Floyd, Summer of Love, BLM embezzling a bunch of money, lesbian leaders buying a bunch of houses. Why do you need to co-opt a thing that's so abstract in England, has nothing to do with anything that's happened there, nothing to do with anyone in their society? They don't have cops killing people for better or for worse in the UK, accident, not by accident. They don't even carry around guns, Eric. Why do they need to co-opt George Floyd stuff when we've seen that they actually have real, and I'm saying real in both quotes and non-quotes, racist things happen on their side of the pond? Why do they need to borrow stuff from the US?
Well, again, you could pose that question under the assumption that it's genuine. It's all completely fake. Look, it's completely across on the other side of the world, right? I would have a hard enough time understanding why a bunch of kids in New York City or what are you doing? Why are you highlighting this?
Showing a quote.
Anyways,
keep talking.
Well, it distracted me. I'm like, what? I would have a hard enough time in New York City are protesting for a guy that, met his demise in police custody in a state that most of them had probably never even been to. So to take it completely across the world makes even less sense. And with all that said, how did the kneeling even become associated with BLM? Because if I'm not mistaken, the kneeling would have been Colin Kaepernick nearly a decade ago, right? Like, it would have been Colin Kaepernick, well before George Floyd. What was he? I don't even remember what he was mad about now. But the kneeling thing, like, he was the one that put that on the map. Am I mistaken about that? There was nobody even knew the name George Floyd had that I genuinely don't even remember why he was mad.
No.
Can we remember?
I think the kneeling was from Kaepernick. You're right. He was kneeling because he didn't want to stand for the national anthem because oppression, police. He never actually explained it. He just said he can't stand for a flag where people in police departments treat black people this way. Never actually
But that
explained
was
it.
well
People can,
before George Floyd, obviously,
yes,
right?
people can try to pretend like he had a point. He never explained an actual point other than like vague explanations of oppression. And then I think you're taking that because you're ashamed of your country. Then you're adding the black fist is the other thing. I don't think the players are doing that. There have been some players. In my research, there were some players raising the fist, but we're combining hating America with black power. And for some reason, people don't see that. And you combine that with a crooked organization that misappropriated hundreds of millions of dollars, started by women who don't want families to exist. Well, at least not the nuclear family. And you've got people in England for some reason saying this is something I want to support. I don't think they understand it per se. I think this is just, like you said, virtue signaling for the point of virtue signaling. And you've got a bunch of British soccer players being, hey, of course I'm against racism, George Floyd, and terrible things that have happened. There's no nuance and everything. It's like if you were to say that you're speaking out against some, one of the bridge killing or something and making it an anti-terror. I don't know. Take an example of something stupid from England that they stand for and completely misunderstand it, and then make your entire billion-dollar industry make a gesture. Whether in here it'd be like sitting backwards on a chair for racial equality in Northern Ireland, Eric. I don't know. It's all stupid.
Yeah. So, but can we at least agree that the lack of reason from Colin Kaepernick is what allows it to now, according to this news site, be synonymous with BLM? Because for many years it was just Colin Kaepernick, but without an actual purpose for it, they can just change it. It's like, dude, it doesn't mean anything ever. It's all completely fake and phony, and it's just I do think on the plus side that more people can see through it than ever. And I would like to tie this in. I don't know if you have the link, but to that Vlad TV post that I sent you about Benny the Butcher. I don't know if you ever heard of Benny the Butcher. You listen to his music. Yeah, and the point I'm making is more and more people can see through this. So Vlad TV, who is an establishment puppet, right, posted Benny the Butcher faces backlash for voicing support for Donald Trump. And you can go, at last I checked, it was like more than 600, most of which are like, yeah, me too. Like, so where's the backlash, bro? There is no backlash. It's Vlad TV doing the bidding of the establishment in an attempt to make people still in 2023 still think that beat Orange Man bad. And to connect this all is, as these players are taking a knee, and it may be Colin Kaepernick, it may be BLM or whatever it is, people can see through it. The media is just force feeding, bro. Like they're jamming it down your throat, and most people can see right through it. So they're kind of panicking, and they have a lot of I can't we're still building the platform, but there are millions of podcasts out there who are probably going to dwarf CNN in a matter of months, right? Like a guy like Mark Dice, even, who is rivaling CNN from, as he would say, a laptop in his kitchen, right? So people are getting hip to this, and I see it even in the small sample size of people that I talk to. Like back in Arizona is a little bit more quote unquote conservative, but that only proves the point more because somehow Katie Hobbs was popular. Again, you could drive any direction for an hour or two in the Phoenix metro area, and you might see one person if you get out of the car with maybe a Katie Hobbs tote bag. You're going to see Carrie Lake, you're going to see Trump, you're going to see FJB, you're going to see, Guns, Beer, Trump, or whatever it is, but you're not going to see anybody. You might see somebody with a mask, which is their flag, sort of. But the point is, even in that place that is easily more quote unquote conservative than the state right next to it, California, they know that Katie Hobbs one, fair and square, nothing fishy ever happened.
It's true. Nothing fishy ever happens. I think you're right. The things that are purposely kept vague so they can perpetuate them forever, like climate change, is the bread and butter, and it's what they should have been doing for a long time. Al Gore should have never made any claims for things that were going to come true. And Joe Biden should have never said any jobs were coming back, or he never should have said the border was good. They should make no claims. It would help them very much. Let's move on to your guy, Vivek. I don't know why he's your guy, but I'm calling him that right now for the purpose of this segment.
It's a little racist.
Are you suggesting that you're an Indian American?
I think it's because he's rapping that you think I might like him or something.
Oh, okay. That's your prejudice at work, Eric. So Vivek, I just thought this was hilarious, and I hadn't seen it until today. But Vivek Ramaswamy is rapping "Lose Yourself," I believe it is. Let's take a look.
Now the clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity, oh, there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up. He's going back to he knows his own matter, he's own matter, he's close. He don't matter, he's so sad, he goes back to this mobile home. That's when it's back to the lab again. Yo, it's so rap, so you better go capture this moment and hope it don't catch you. Lose yourself in the music, the moment.
I mean, that's a solid 30 seconds for Vivek off the top, knowing all the lyrics. Are you impressed? Or is he co-opting, white society and my people?
Well, this is top tier pandering, right? I don't know who it's for. I guess he's now pandering.
I don't know where it is.
He's now pandering to white people who are very eager to prove they're not racist, so they like Eminem. And I will say, look, it's a complete mess, and I like Vivek Ramaswamy for the fact that he is putting the screws to Ron DeSantis, or Rob, as some might call him. But obviously it's very hard. You would be an absolute most trust any politician. But he is, I guess, the lesser of a couple evils at this particular point. And but without, I'm undecided on Ramaswamy, right? Like, I saw him live at the VT headquarters, and it's all very good. Like, it's all very, like, he clearly has his finger on the pulse of the culture and what people are actually thinking. But it's just, I've become so jaded, and we've become so far away from, like, any of these people being remotely trustworthy that, look, bro, I just like Donald Trump. I don't know. I think he's funny. Like, Vivek is fun for him, but he doesn't have any one-liners. He's got no zingers, bro. He's like that. Like, Donald Trump would obviously never do that. But Donald Trump has his own lane, right? Like, he's funny. Vivek can talk on stage for 2 hours, and we're not getting one joke cracked. Like, that was the entertainment factor for him. And excuse me, I want to say this. That was the beginning of the end of Eminem's career. I never liked that stupid song. Not from day one. He had 2 good albums at the very beginning. Was it Slim Shady or Marshall Mathers? 2 good albums. That song was not on either one of them. That was the one that took mega stardom, and nothing else after was ever good.
Wow. If somebody, this is an Iowa fair, by the way.
Name another good song. First of all, I want to go on record. You can mark the date. I never liked that song. Never enjoyed it once. I don't rap it. Spaghetti, or whatever happens. But name one good song that he came out with after that.
Sure. Cold Wind Blows, and in most of the Relapse album, he's got newer songs that are good too, off of Kamikaze, off of Music to Be Murdered By. This is just an hour-long argument, Eric, for us to have one day, okay? If you had told me that this was 3 years ago, that this was Andrew Yang, just replace the titles with Andrew Yang, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it, and that's cringe. I like Vivek, so I'm way more than Andrew Yang, so I'm very biased. But what I'm saying is that this is just like very cheesy and very corny, and it looks like he was signing autographs, and that just came on, and he just started rapping it, which is hilarious. I think he wanted his moment there, as all young people imagine themselves as rappers at some point, and I
But
think that's just what he went for. And he was at some state fair. I don't know what it's about. They're having Fairside Chats, which is a play on Fireside Chats, with Republican Governor Kim Reynolds as he was signing autographs on stage when the Eminem song started playing, and then snap. I hate when people look how they write this. Here's the lyrics Ramaswamy recited. Ope, there goes rabbit. I don't think he says ope. Anyways,
well,
yeah, if you told me this was Yang Gang, I'd be like, that's so lame, so pathetic, because it's not
look,
believable. But I believe Vivek basically, I can more so believe that Vivek grew up as the same as me, in the sense that he was listening to this music. It just so happens he made some what's he made billions from again? Like pharmaceutical technology.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit different paths we've taken. But when something like that happens, you can't help but be like, hey, I can relate to that as a trailer park person from Michigan. Basically the same.
Well, okay. The bottom line is, if these guys are both doing a 90-minute speech or whatever, a town hall, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it might be, that is him trying to be entertaining versus Trump naturally being entertaining and saying funny jokes off the cuff. Like, so maybe this, I don't know. I assume it wasn't planned. The song just came on, they said. But, dude, maybe I'm biased. Like you admit you're biased. Like I so it does nothing for me seeing this guy. I would much rather, bro, just shoot me. Like, give us a one-liner, bro. Like, tell a joke. Like, you need to be funnier. Like this. No, dog. Miss me with that. Be authentic. And again, I'm not saying this is inauthentic, but it just comes off a little bit cringy when you could have, I don't know, maybe played off a heckler, or maybe like, dude, you like comedy, right? Everybody loves comedy.
You wish that it was Future he started rapping. If it was Future and Drake or something, you'd be like, this is the greatest segment ever. I love Vivek now. But no, he's not going to be a guy who comes out and insults people. I don't even think, and to his detriment, if they have a debate, I don't think he's going to be mean or critical of anybody on the stage. He might say Mike Pence made a mistake, and blah blah blah.
But
he might say Asa Hutchinson. He's not going to have a joke, because it'll have to be at somebody's expense. Most of the time, jokes have to be at somebody or something's expense, and I think he's vying for his whole bit. I think the whole time was, I could probably make a lot of money, really upgrade my status in the culture, and also maybe get a vice presidency out of it. Now, people have brought stuff up that make me probably not want to see him as vice president. You have to take the good with the bad, obviously, but I don't see him ever insulting DeSantis or Trump, snapping back at everybody. Trump would have a name like Little Vivek for him or something. But there's so many things, like you said, there's so many things he could have lines for. He doesn't have any catchphrases. I don't know what his campaign's phrase is. It's not even Jeb ! But why are they calling him Ron DeSantis? What's that bit?
Rob.
Why are they calling him Rob? Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
It's just a disrespectful little dig, bro. It's just like
just not knowing his name.
Exactly, bro. And look, as long as we're splitting hairs here, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but because you mentioned if he were to rap Drake, or might put him in a little bit like actually cooler factor because they make good music that's not garbage for the last 3 decades. But I feel bad saying this. I do, because everybody has a right to free speech. But dude, Eminem, bro, you made songs about putting your wife in the trunk, bro. Like,
he did.
You make dark music, dog. Like, I'm not here for.
He does.
Like, I would much rather, as bad as this sounds, and we'll leave it here. Last thing, as you say, I would much rather, We're talking about the lesser of two evils. I would much rather listen to a rapper talk about his drug habit and liquid heroin than murdering and killing your wife, or murdering your wife and driving the car off a bridge.
This is why you're not white, Eric.
Right.
This is why you were not born white, because for some reason, white guys like to hear about things that we've never experienced, which is murder, which is drug dealing, and sometimes there's a whole genre of you got to kill people or suicide or something. That's why all of Juice WRLD's fans are white, essentially. I love a side note here for Juice WRLD. I love if you ever watched like the little documentary about him, is that nobody knew he was suicidal. Nobody knew. His mother didn't know, his manager, his best friends, nobody knew he was suicidal. That's like saying you don't know that Lil Wayne liked lean or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just wild. What did that recent video of Eminem? What he was saying? Oh yeah, he doesn't get why people like Trump. You want to watch that, or should we move on?
I mean, if you have it, I don't think I saw it.
I don't have it. I could find it easily.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because there was one. If you want to take a look for it, but there was one a couple years back where he was on like some BET Cypher or some sort of weird freestyle thing that he
trash.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was just hard up for cash. I don't even know why he would be doing that. But he went like, he went full like woke libtard type of like, I can't do the Eminem impression, but like he was big mad at Trump. But now there's a new one that surfaced where he backtracking on that a little bit, or I don't know, maybe you can bring it up. But look, the point is, Stan was good.
Well, here's what happened, Eric. If I may give you some Eminem etymology, is that after that thing you're talking about on BET aired, where he's just like essentially Orange Man bad, in other words.
Yeah.
On his next album, he mentioned how, the White House, like the Secret Service, comes to visit you when you make threats towards the president, and they did that. And then he said that his fan base was shrinking to thirds as he realized that a majority of his fans are Trump supporters, and he should have seen this coming. That's why, if you're an Eminem fan, so much of this stuff is disappointing, because he spent years being like, the system's corrupt, the media are garbage, they blamed me and Marilyn Manson for stuff, Bill Clinton sucks, George Bush sucks, and then all of a sudden, the same media that brainwashed people against him in the late 90s, early 2000s, like the people who protested him, now all of a sudden they're telling the truth. Now all of a sudden CNN is a good thing to watch. And I get it. I think that he sees, like, watch this and tell me you don't think that he thinks that him and Trump are like the same. That's what I think he's getting at.
Before you wait, hold on. Before you play it, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now, and this is just very funny about how these let you have an original thought. So there's a big banner at the top of his Wikipedia. This article's criticism or controversy section may compromise the article's neutrality by separating out potentially negative information. Please integrate sections content into the art. It's like, can you just give us? I just wanted a list of his albums,
the facts,
bro.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Talking about Trump, I get too flustered in my head, and the shit that I want to say, there's too many things I want to say at once. So sometimes I start talking and I'm not able to convey the message the right way because I just get flustered and frustrated. Watching him play to his base that thinks that he cares about them, and it's actually the people that he cares about the fucking least. If you're talking about his core being, a majority white middle class, what I don't understand is how in the fuck do you feel like you relate to a billionaire who has never known struggle his entire fucking life? I will say this, he talks a good one. And if you're in his base, you're a core, let's say you're going to the rallies or whatever, you watch him on TV, you hear him talking this shit, there's part of me that understands, like, all right, he's somehow still got them because he's brainwashing them into thinking that something great is gonna happen. Nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. I don't know, man. I get really flustered when I talk about it.
So he's pretty triggered, I think he's got a point there where he says nothing's happened, but his nothing happened isn't the reality of what I mean. Border encounters went way down, wages went way up, employment went way up. All these things actually did happen. Money from China came back, trade deals went up, et cetera, got people in NATO to pay. All these things you could point to. I think what he thinks he's saying is, the whole system didn't change because Trump came in. And I mean, that's because they stop him. I think it's anyone who actually looks into things should be able to objectively point out, I feel, that things are in a better direction with Trump in terms of government control over your life, corruption, in terms of what the news media gets away with and what the government gets away with, and overall how much money is made by the common person and keeping prices down. But at the same time, when he's saying, how does this guy get on stage and continuously convince people that they have something in common with a billionaire? That's you, Eminem. When you go on stage and you sing Lose Yourself, for example, yes, it's based on stuff you've experienced in your life, but you've been a very wealthy man for at least 20 years now. And if you're going to go on stage
30,
or on
closer to 30, right? Closer to 30. Dude,
he came out in 99.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
And you have to imagine the money takes a bit of time to start rolling in. So when you come on here and you're just like, I don't understand it, how are you going to come on camera and be like, I don't understand how anyone can relate to this billionaire, when you're coming out saying, I don't understand how anyone can relate to this billionaire? How come you don't believe me, you guys? I've only got hundreds of millions of dollars and have a song about how my house has an elevator in it. That's what doesn't make sense to me. He doesn't see that the media manipulates other people, such as himself, into thinking that something's worse than it actually is, even though they did that to him, and even though he's in the position now where he has to try to relate to people being probably close to a billionaire, Dr. Dre's a billionaire, etc.
Look, bro, he's obviously, I think what he's trying to do in that clip is he's trying to slow walk back his beat, but Orange Man bad. So he's like, okay, I still don't like him, but maybe it's not quite as bad as I thought it was. Like, that's kind of what it feels like he's saying. It's like, dude, the media brainwash, bro. Like, Trump's brainwashing people, the media's brainwashing people. Yeah, bro. Like, when we talk about this brainwashing term that gets thrown around all too often, I think it's fair to say, maybe a decent question for the streets when I would like to get back out there. Who's more likely? Reporter is far more likely to say, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that, and this could be done better, versus somebody who's going to famously squeak a pig at you for asking one question. Which is more brainwashed to you?
Exactly. And the idea that it's objective, Eric. I didn't grow up in a Republican conservative household in Greensboro, North Carolina or something. I went to where I thought made more sense and had better ideas. It's like saying, like, exactly what you're saying. If he's going to say Trump supporters are brainwashed, of course there's people who say it doesn't matter what Trump does, he's the greatest thing of all time. But this guy made songs,
which he actually made a joke about that as well, right? Remember this?
Yeah,
joke?
And this guy's made songs about trannies and gays and killing his wife and everything, and now he's not coming out and saying they're pushing transgender stuff and gay people all on your children all the time, and the news is corrupting people and lying to you about stuff. He doesn't come out and say that any time ever. He has in a couple songs kind of said the news media still sucks because but only because they criticized his rapping ability. But instead he focuses on Trump supporters are brainwashed as opposed to, I don't know, everything else that gets pushed in mainstream society.
Yeah, but does he also sort of have to do this? Because if he didn't, then that very same mob would come after him, because today's standards, today's, cancelable offenses on things that happened 20 years ago. So he kind of has to do this. Otherwise, they're going to say, maybe, oh, remember when you said the FAG word? Like, you're canceled for that. Remember when you said, like, he has to do it.
Yeah, but he's too big to fail.
No, I'm still, look, I'm looking at it right now. Obviously, he's not going to fail. It doesn't matter what I say about Eminem, but you had the Slim Shady LP 1999. You had the Marshall Mathers LP 2000. And I would give half credit. I'm not even, bro.
He's got a vengeance.
I would give, dude, because you're talking about something from 2017. Get the. There's no way, bro. This man has not made a good song since, if I'm being generous, 2002. That's being generous.
I'll start sending you songs. Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, they can say whatever they want. Eminem has his own radio station. Like, how are they going to cancel him? I get, like, exactly what you say. They could try to do that, but it's not going to affect him. People still listen to Michael Jackson and R. Kelly nonstop. You know what I mean? So that's where I think that is. If he wants to be invited back to the BET Awards and all these other things, then yeah, I guess. But he could easily go on whoever in the morning in New York. What are they called?
Breakfast.
Yeah, and be like, oh, the media is brainwashing to you into making your kids transgender, and Charlemagne the God could, depending on the day, could agree or disagree with him, but he could still get away with it, I think. Let's move on to this post, which is, cultural appropriation. This is Eric Griffin. He's a comedian. He's been on Workaholics and a whole bunch of other great shows. I haven't watched this yet. Let's watch it.
Woman asked AI to improve her headshot and it turned her white. I mean, this is on the what? Improve her headshot? Oh, man, dude. Tell me the AI is white without telling me the AI is white. From what we've gathered about the world right now, you'll be better off being a white woman. It's like, oh, man. This is, let's chalk this under the AI needs some work, okay?
Well, I don't agree with that. I'd like to point out that Eric Griffin's wife is like a white Norwegian or Danish woman, tall white woman. But if that's what the AI thinks, then that's what the AI thinks, Eric. This is what you've opened it up to. Have people manipulated it? I don't know, but they already put heavy bias into the AIs. I mean, if you go on one of these things, they say, oh, I can't say something negative about Joe Biden, but Trump is a piece of trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that we need to go into more detail about making the AI more racist, then what is it been exposed to that leads it to believe that way? Maybe objectively, and this happens in Asian culture, which is a weird thing, is that in some Asian cultures, being more light-skinned is seen as being better. That's why a lot of them wear umbrellas, because historically in some countries, if you were darker, it meant you were outside working and you were poorer. So, and like, then you've got Jamaican people bleaching their skin.
Black people of Asians. Sorry.
Jamaicans bleaching their skin with actual bleach in the saran wrap. I've seen many things about that. So don't tell me. Drake, Eric?
Well, look. There's, I mean, I'm sure there's been a long-standing feud between the, sort of crunchy purple, blue, black guys and beautiful lighter tone skin people like me.
What's the guy from Chappelle's show?
Ashley Larry or which one?
Ashley Larry.
But look, first of all, are we going to completely just, maybe I'd have to take a look at the picture again, but are we going to completely eliminate the idea that maybe it was just like a color correction thing? It's AI, bro. Like, I don't know if it wants to, it's trying to make things more neutral, but I will say, as bad as it sounds, how do I put this nicely? The white women are in control, okay? They're basically the reason why New York is falling apart. They're basically the reason why New York and California fall apart is because they have, however, some way, shape, or form have gained this power to the point where other people are now afraid to speak the truth, right? So there was a meme going around that simply said, I blame white women for everything happening in New York, which is true, bro. I think of a time just before I left Brooklyn from work to the train, and there's this like little hipster little coffee shop or something selling masks, selling Black Lives Matter masks for like $15 or something. And I see a girl, like two girls and a guy, like buying them. And I'm just like, these are the people that are completely, they've been so trained and so brainwashed and so demented that they genuinely don't even realize that they're about to spend $15 or $20 on a mask that's like made out, I don't know, some weird cloth that you won't be able to breathe through. It's going to get absolutely disgusting. You're going to put it in the wash because there's a little Black Lives Matter patch on it. And they're the ones, look, Kathy Hochul, right? This woman, Kathy, as she's known, has been making all sorts of backdoor deals. But what can you say? She's in charge of the entire state right now. Her lieutenant governor, Brian Benjamin, who is black, was indicted. Think about how bad you have to be doing to get indicted as a Democrat in New York. You either got into a direct fight with Kickback Kathy, or, I mean, either she pointed the finger right at you because she didn't like something you were going to blow the whistle on her, or you were just that stupid. Like you might have got James O'Keefe or something like that. Like there's no way that a black Democrat in New York gets indicted by the feds as Kathy. And then she says, I didn't know anything about that. And it all just goes by the wayside. We never talk about it again. She's in charge, and she's got minions all over the place in the entire state of New York. So in a weird way, I don't know if this has much to do with that AI, but in a weird way, I mean, think of Hillary Clinton. They are in charge, and they're the ones making sure that you will speak their language. Otherwise, they're going to cancel you. Doesn't matter if you're white. Doesn't matter if you're black. Doesn't matter if you're Latina. I mean, you could be, you see all the articles. Why is what's it, like some Atlantic article or something like, oh, white supremacy has a new face in the Latino community or something weird like that. Those are the white liberal women who are doing this. So maybe if the AI makes that Asian girl look more like a white woman, she is more likely to get a position of power. I don't know.
Well, since I'm not a racist like you, Eric, I will say that it's more so like Western women in general, because here we have a lot of Indian people, and a lot of Indian people share the white woman stance of everything has to be non-offensive, and I've seen that in my street interviews where it's mainly the white women and the Indian women who are offended by everything. Sprinkle in some rich Asian women, all the rich Ukrainian women that come here just looking for a rich husband, I think. But when it comes to these ideas, look, I was writing about a story last week where it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where these parents, I think 5 sets of parents, were saying there's a boy playing sports against our little girls. The girls are coming home with injuries and bruises. They wouldn't say the sport or the school for some reason. They said a ball was, they weren't used to the ball coming at them that fast. I deduced that it was soccer or volleyball, because why would you be getting hit with the ball so many times, right? So I think it was volleyball. And they said that they've never seen speed like that from one of their competitors. They're not used to it. They're afraid, and they don't want to be on the team if this boy is allowed. The Wisconsin, athletic sports said they're allowed. They're even allowed to use any bathroom or change room they want. And if the girls have a problem with it, they literally said, Eric, that they should seek counseling. Not only in the way that they should seek counseling because too bad, so sad, because this is the only thing that they can offer them from the school board, or else they're going against the law. So if you don't like a boy beating the shit out of you in sports, then go seek counseling, is basically what they said. And they talk to these parents who say a bunch of their daughters aren't going to come and try out for this team anymore because the boy's allowed to play. You then had 2 women interviewed who don't appear to have any parents. They didn't say they were parents of any kids in the school. One of them said they were an alumnus of the school. And they said, we just wanted people to know that there are actually people who are siding with the student and believe that, trans lives matter. And these are, of course, our 2 white women who want to come out and say, who cares? I don't care what the little girl thinks. You're going to see that penis. You're going to get beaten up. And the reason why we support this is because we don't want to be offensive to anybody. Exactly. You will get hit in the face with a volleyball. You will see a boy's penis because you don't want to be. You can't be mean, okay? You stupid little bitch. That's what these ladies are saying. And I'm circling back around, Eric, the horseshoe theory. Yes, I'm blaming white women in this situation, but that's how far it's willing to go. Leah Thomas, big old L dog out there. 6'4". If you saw on Bill Maher, he had Riley Gaines on, and she's like, he's 6'4". Just imagine what I'm talking about. And what she means is this is a guy, a large athletic male swinging his hoo-ha around. And if you don't like that, then you're a bigoted person. And that's why, Islam wins.
And shout out to Riley Gaines. She has that friend now that who's actually, I think she was masked. Like she was anonymous
by
for
Daily
some time.
Wire.
And she came up. Yeah, and she came out. So shout out to them. It's just crazy how low the bar has gotten, right? Like now you have to like be brave to say maybe this 6'4" guy shouldn't be in the women's room. But I experienced this firsthand on my personal Instagram account. Has nothing to do with
men's
politics.
penises in the change room. Or?
No. I literally just and then like emojis. Like there's very few words even. Like I buy a new pair of sneakers or scenery, whatever. But this was a couple years ago. I saw one of my old friends from San Francisco, a white woman. I won't name names. She's probably watching this. Shout out to her. Who posted something along the lines of, I think this was around the George Floyd time, like, just listen to your friends of color. Like, if they say something, just be there to listen. And I replied, it was a story post. I replied to her story post and say, no, you don't have to do that. It's weird. And in that moment, I literally said, you really shouldn't do that. It's kind of weird. And in that moment, into a corner because I'm a black guy telling her not to do this, and you just said that you should listen to your black friends, but you won't, right? You won't do it for me. You're going to tell me that, oh, well, I still think that this needs to be. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it just seems like from where I'm sitting, like it seems weird. It kind of makes me think you think I'm stupid, and I think it's weird. And she's like, well, so she didn't back off of it. So she's literally completely ignoring the advice that she just gave to listen to black people when one black person says, maybe you don't have to do that. It's all completely through the roof.
Listen to black people unless it goes against what liberal white people tell me I should say.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Let's check out the chat. Crow Magnon said, one large step for women's rights, and most males from every race sexually select for lighter skin women. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I'd like to see the study about that. And then God of Squirrels, which is a great name, says, why is this the question Obama's answering? Why not answer why we bombed Yemen? It was actually Obama's biographer. So unless he was pre-planning a Yemenis attack and maybe taking out Gaddafi when he was 21, he could have been, Eric. I believe Barack Obama was probably plotting 800 years in the future. He's a member of the Anunnaki. Planet X, Nibiru is probably Barack Obama's doing. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting. Any final words, Eric? I think we're out of time here.
Obviously, the most important thing is to buy my book.
Shout out Rumble audience. Shout out Getter audience. Getter has a new internal live stream thing that it can do now. I'll have to check that out. Shout out Twitter audience. And shout out everybody on the Spotify, the Spotiverse, the Twitterverse, as OJ Simpson might say, Eric. Fan of OJ? Last thing? Fan of OJ?
X. I'm going to go with no. No for me, dog.
Shout out Simon Cowell. His face doesn't move anymore.
Turn it up, Jordan.